Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. So excited to share today's guest with you. And wow, what a story. We talk about in business how a story can really create a lot of business for you. And man, does Nicole Lanni have a story. So she's amazing. I don't want to take up too much time describing her during this intro. I just want to jump into the show because you're going to be mesmerized by all that she's been through and all that she's overcome, and really how she has grown her business into something spectacular. So I'm really happy to share her with you. As always, please leave a rating and review on iTunes. It goes a long way for me to continue to get excellent guests and provide all the health coaches out there with tremendous amount of resources. So let's jump into the show.
Hey Nicole, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited and very grateful to be here today.
Oh no, great to have you. I've been checking you out. I see all the great stuff you're doing out there, and I think that you'd be a phenomenal guest just to talk to health coaches who are just starting out, trying to get their businesses off the ground, and those health coaches who do have businesses off the ground. They just want to get, better and learn a couple of things from someone who's a little bit further ahead on the chain. So I'm really excited to pick your brain.
Awesome. I can't wait. Let's go.
Let's go. So give me a little bit about your origin story. I read up about you, and I know that you have a lot of nuggets, and there was a point in your life that you got interested heavily in health and wellness. And yeah, well, tell us a little bit about that.
I did. So back in 2001, I actually moved from Vegas to California. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, cute little house, clean, adorable. And, thought it was going to be a great neighborhood for my kids. I was scared to death to move to another state, like a lot of parents would be. And I ended up moving into a house that had toxic mold in it.
Mm,
And little did I know anything about mold because in Vegas, it's so dry there. You never heard about mold. So
right.
I got really sick. And my kids were having some different symptoms. My husband at the time was having different things happening. And nobody really could put it together because my kids were seeing a pediatrician. I was seeing my GP, and my husband was actually taken to an emergency room in LA because he had some things, respiratory things happening. So fast forward a year later, I was so sick I could barely get out of bed.
Mm.
And I ended up having a couple of bronchoscopies because I coughed like 24 hours a day.
Oh,
And so I was working with a pulmonary doctor, and it was actually a PA who said to me in his office, "Do you think that you've been exposed to mold?" And I have to tell you, I was so offended. I'm like, "My house is clean." What are you talking about? I didn't know what that was. And I was like, she said, "Do you happen to have any water leaks in your house?" And I was like, "Actually, we do." We had had this ongoing water leak in our bathroom, and we were renting that first year, and the landlords were going like crazy trying to figure out how to fix this water leak. Fast forward, they discovered at that point that I had mold growing in my lungs.
oh wow.
So on the third bronchoscopy, I didn't wake up, and I was in a coma for about 4.5 months.
Oh boy.
And so it was at that point when I finally, as I tell people, I rejoined the world, right? Like I decided that I wasn't done and I woke up and I asked my doctor what I needed to do to live. And it was probably the most impactful conversation I've ever had in my life. It changed the trajectory of everything for me. So he told me I needed three things. He said, the first thing is, he says, I don't know what your spiritual belief is. And he says, honestly, I don't care if you pray to a rock or a cat or to God. But he says, whatever that is, I need you to magnify that by 10. And once you've done that, I need you to magnify that by 100
Mm.
because you have to believe you're going to get better. That's the first thing. I was like, well, I can do that in my head, right?
Right,
And he
right.
said, the second thing is, he says, you need me. And I'm not saying that because of an ego. I'm saying that because I don't have an ego. He says, it's really important that we hire doctors that he says, and you have the choice of hiring and firing a doctor, and people don't realize that.
Right.
And he says, you literally, um, should hire doctors that know that they're practicing medicine. And he said, because those are the ones who go out and look for all kinds of answers for you. And he says, and for the last 4 months, that's exactly what I've been doing. And I have had made some great connections. I've reached out to so many colleagues, and I had a plan for you. if and when this day happened. Because the longer you're in a coma, the less chances you have of waking up.
Hmm.
So, but he never gave up hope, which was, it meant a lot to me. Like he never gave up. And he said, the third thing you need is we need to get you out of this hospital and we need to put you into some holistic health avenues because what I'm doing here isn't working for you.
Mm.
So we need to look outside of these walls to get you better. And he said, so some of the things I'm going to recommend might be a little different, that you might not have ever heard of them, but are you willing? And I was like, I'm game. Like,
Hmm.
I'm game. And so that started my health journey, honestly. So I went and saw a nutritionist. I did hyperbaric chamber, which was very new in the mold world 20 years ago, 20 some years ago. I did yoga instead of physical therapy. I went to acupuncture. Like he had me doing all kinds of things. But I really believe it was the hyperbaric chamber and the food that really made a big difference. So fast forward, I became a health coach and he did get me pretty, sustained and doing very well. I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back to people who were you know, that were experiencing similar things
Right
that
on.
needed to look outside of the medical world. And so that's what I got into. That's why I became a health coach. I went back to college. I already had a master's degree in art, but decided to get a degree in nutrition because I really believe that food helped heal me quite a bit
Hmm.
and started my practice. So that's how it all began.
Why? Well, kudos to your doctor first off, because as you know, it's very unusual nowadays to get a doctor to push you in that direction, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Thank God for him. And we gotta salute any doctor that does that nowadays because it's a big deal.
It's such a big deal. And, I always say I was so blessed. Like, I really believe, I always say there was angels around me, like helping me get through this situation because there aren't that many doctors that will do that for you. And
Hmm.
so I think that's why I really felt like I needed to give back to people was if I was given this gift and this doctor out
Right.
of all the people that I could have ended up with,
Right.
what can I do for other people?
No, that is amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, one of the things that we explore on this show often is you know, a lot of us get into health coaching and such because of our personal journeys, and obviously you have an amazing story. So tell us a little bit about how your story relates to so many people and how that actually impacts your business.
Oh my goodness. I think, like you said, I think most health coaches, wellness practitioners, they get into it, like you said, because of their own experience or somebody in their own family, right?
Hmm.
And so I think it makes such a big difference when you have a story because number one, stories sell. Let's be honest, stories sell,
Hmm.
right? And number two, it gives you empathy. I think that it gives you become more relatable. You become, as long as you stay in your authentic self, right? People will come to you and they'll automatically trust you when you can share your own experiences.
Hmm.
And I think that being that genuine piece really, that has really it exploded my business, honestly. I never said I was something I wasn't.
Right.
And I never appeared to be something I wasn't. And I really just stayed true to my lane. Like, this is my story. This is how I got into this business, and this is why. And I think the other thing is, I use stickies all the time, or post-it notes, as people call them, right? Like, I have little stickies everywhere. And I literally, when I would coach people, I would keep a sticky on, and it's actually on the back of my laptop. So, like, I can still see it to this day. I've kept it there for over 20 years.
Hmm.
And it literally says, how can I help you today?
Hmm.
How can I help your health? So, what can I do to get you through this? And that's what it says. But so I always remember that I'm there to help somebody. And then I always remember my why, because my kids at the time were my why, right? Like
Hmm.
when I had teenagers at home when all of that happened, and I missed 4 months of their life,
Hmm.
almost 5 months of their life. And I really missed more than that because I had been sick for a year, right? So to think that I had teenagers that really needed me and I wasn't there for them as a mom, it really broke my heart. So at that point, my why has always been my family. And even now I have grandkids and I take care of one of my grandkids now. He has some special needs and I'm homeschooling him. And so always remember your why, because I think if you remember your why and your purpose. So my why is my children and my family, and my purpose is I want everybody to have healthy and abundant lives.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and again, your story is obviously amazing. I mean, it's for somebody to come out of a over 4 month coma, to eventually heal themselves. That's something that a lot of people want to hear. So you said, that story definitely sells. And one of the things I think some health coaches can relate to this question I'm going to ask you. Your story is very dramatic. What about the health coach who story isn't as dramatic and but equally powerful? How do you give them like that advice to stay true to their actual story and what the benefit of that is?
Again, I think it's being genuine and authentic. Like if you honestly tell people, I just talked to somebody, matter of fact, this is a great example. So I talked to somebody the other day and he says, I don't have a story of my own.
Mm,
And I said, why did you get into this?
mm,
Like what decided for you to, he's actually a chiropractor. And he said, I said, why did you decide to become a chiropractor? And he said, well, my dad always took supplements and my dad was healthy.
mm,
And my dad is still with me. And he says, I'm over 50 and my dad is still with me and I'm very blessed. He says, my mom, on the other hand, she was overweight. She ate a lot. She ate a lot of junk. She smoked cigarettes because that was a big deal back in the day.
mm,
And he says, and my mom passed away when she was 61 years old. And he said, and I realized that had she done all the things that my dad was doing, then maybe my mom would still be here.
yeah.
And so it really wasn't even, and that happens in families, right?
Right,
And
right.
so for him, he saw his dad like walking every day, taking supplements, doing these things, and he lost his mom. He was pretty young when his mom passed away. And so it's not a big dramatic story. Unfortunately, we lose our parents eventually in our life, you know? So it wasn't like nothing really happened to him. It was just what he saw that happened to somebody else. And I have to tell you, he is probably the most authentic, raw person.
Mhm,
And he's a chiropractor, but he does mostly functional health.
mhm.
And that story itself, even though it's not big and dramatic like mine, he wasn't in a coma for 4 months.
Right,
But he was able to like connect with people going, you know what? I don't want to see this for you. I
right.
want you to be healthy. So it doesn't have to be a big story. It just has to be what is your purpose? What is your purpose? If you really want to go out there and help other people and you want to help them get well, it can be such a simple story. Just stay in your lane. Don't make up big stories.
Yeah,
Just be
yeah.
authentic.
No, but that's an excellent example. I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm gonna share that with other people too, because when that question is posed to me, because yeah, like first off, it didn't happen to the health crisis didn't happen to him specifically,
Not at all.
but it affected someone obviously who we loved very much, and the passion for actually helping other people not go through that trauma of losing somebody is enough for other people to connect to because they at least they can relate why they entered the space, right? And now they became an expert in it and eventually, are helping a lot of people. So you got your health coach credentials all lined up. What was the first move that you made with your newfound superpowers of being a health coach?
Well, business isn't linear, right? Life isn't linear. You think that you're going to go like this,
Yes.
and then it goes like this. Right?
Yes, yes.
I took a lot of detours. So I actually became a health coach. And then I went down the rabbit hole. And I think this happens with a lot of health coaches. There's so many shiny objects. Like, I want to learn that. I want to learn this. I
Yes.
want to learn that. And that's what happened. And so I ended up going to an NLP class, which is neuro linguistic programming, for those of you who don't know. And so I was fascinated with the mind. And I think that part of it was because it did help me overcome my own illness. And so I kind of went down the NLP route for a little bit. And then I became a hypnotherapist
Mm,
because NLP and hypnotherapy tie in together.
right.
And I loved it so much, I became a trainer of hypnosis. And so I've certified over 2,000 people in hypnosis.
Wow.
It was a detour, it really was a detour.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and so it wasn't one of those things. And I think this is very common with health coaches is, I started with nutrition, got my health coaching certification, started teaching hypnotherapy. Like that wasn't the plan,
Right,
right? That
right,
wasn't
right.
the
Yeah.
plan. But was able to help quite a few people and
Mhm.
teach them how to help other people. So that was very satisfying. But then I went, wait a minute, what do I want to do when I grow up? Like
Yeah, yeah.
now what's the next step? And so I opened a wellness center was
Mm,
my next step. And again, it was a detour because I ended up more in that managerial thing instead of practicing day in and day out. And then all of a sudden, somebody had come into the wellness center and we offered all kinds of things. Like we offered massage and foot detoxing, and we had yoga, we had a cafe, we had a hyperbaric chamber, we had a float pod. So there was a lot of modalities that people could come. But then we taught classes in there. And one of my instructors didn't show up for a class. And I was like, oh no, there's like 40 people coming to this class.
mm,
And I was like, I threw some slides together really quick and I went into that teaching mode again.
yeah.
And I ended up with like 7 clients. And I was like, oh my gosh, my heart was so happy. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah,
so
yeah.
happy because I love being the health coach. I love being the healer.
Yeah.
And so again, it brought me back into that health coaching arena. So I carved out a period of my time. I actually hired a manager to help run the center, and I went back into full-time health coaching. And I absolutely loved it. And it was a great addition to the center as well. Obviously, I had other health coaches in there. Um, but it was a great experience. Like I really got to do that hands-on work again. And
Hmm.
it just really fulfilled me. Like it fills my cup,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So we have to fill our cup too. Interesting enough, we had that pandemic happen,
Yeah, yeah.
and I live in California. So we were shut down.
Mm,
So a place that was happy and people came in and were getting well and had all these modalities, unfortunately couldn't have that experience. So I went online and I really worked with people with autoimmune because that's my passion.
hmm.
Everybody has a passion or a lane that they like, and
Yeah, yeah,
autoimmune was
yeah.
my passion. And for the first 2 years, from 20 to 22, I didn't even have space on my schedule because I think when you love what you do, people
Mm.
refer you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So, you know what I meant to ask you? What did you do, and I'm gonna call it your prior life before, the health coaching before, you slipped into the coma, like, because you got a great, it seems, a grasp of business background. Am I
yeah.
wrong about that? Did you have any help along the way where a person, are you an entrepreneur by heart? I'm just curious because, like you did take it to another level pretty quickly. And yeah, I was wondering what were you doing before all this?
Okay, you want a good laugh?
Sure.
I went to a Tupperware party. I worked, I was a recreation leader and I ran a recreation program for the county of Las Vegas or Count Clark County in Las Vegas. And unfortunately, it was the 90s and I got laid off. And I went to a Tupperware party. And the funny part is I don't drink, but I did drink that day
Oh.
and kind of mocked the Tupperware lady,
Uh-oh.
which is so not my speed, but I don't drink. And so give me some alcohol, and this is what happened. And I ended up selling Tupperware. And I know it sounds funny because you don't think of Tupperware as being a business, but I've always been a little competitive.
Hmm.
And I thought, my goodness, if this woman can drive a free van, I could drive a free van. I had 5 kids at home, and I just got laid off from a 6-figure job, and I have a van that is is going to be, I have to give up the lease in 2 months, and if she can earn a free van, I could earn a free van.
Right, 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 right.
What I didn't know that was going to propel me in business. So and I didn't know what I was doing, which sometimes is the best thing in business. So, especially if you guys are new health coaches, sometimes not knowing is the best thing because
Yeah.
sometimes we can think we know too much.
Right, right,
And
right.
and I ended up believing, and nobody told me this, but I got this in my head in that very first week that I had to have $1,000 Tupperware parties. The
Okay.
average in the country was like $300. But somehow in my brain, I thought you had to do $1,000. So my friends all thought it was funny that I signed up for Tupperware. So I told them they had to do parties for me. And I called in every favor, but I told them we have to get $1,000 in sales. So
Hmm.
like I was like trying to help them and do all this stuff. And what I realized during the whole experience, I sold Tupperware for 10 years. And
Wow.
I made a six-figure income with Tupperware. So I made over $1 million selling Tupperware. But what I learned was learn from your mentors
Hmm.
because there's always somebody in leadership that knows something more than you.
Yeah.
So go and get those nuggets and learn as much as you can. I started reading every business book like I could get my hands on.
Hmm.
And I really took this as this is a job. This is not just a hobby for me. I needed to make the money to sustain my family, and I was used to making six figures. So, how did I do that? And for me, it was all about the connection and meeting people where they were. So, I realized very quickly like if I built a team,
Hmm.
then I made money. And then I got all these amazing friends, like they were built-in friends.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of how I looked at it. And I started coaching as I went up in the ranks, and I took advantage of every free coaching experience there was. When there was a mentor teaching us, I took advantage of that. I made sure like I was that person sitting in the front row, taking notes, learning as much as I could about business. And little did I know in that 10-year period, like I was going to make a seven-figure amount in that 10 years. I drove a free van for 10 years, which
Mm.
was fantastic. Um, they paid my insurance. My husband could drive my van too. So, I mean, there was some great advantages of that. I got to work around my kids' schedule.
Mm.
So there was a lot of benefits. So even though a lot of people looked at direct sales as a hobby, for me, I was like, how can I turn this into something where I could be with my kids?
Mm.
Because again, my family was the most important thing to me. I knew I needed to bring in money,
Right, right,
but
right.
I also knew that I needed to be with my kids. And so that's really where I got a lot of business experience. And I got to meet some of the best, amazing mentors during that 10 years
Wow.
and leadership, go to leadership conferences and really pick people's brains. So if you have any opportunity, and now we have this amazing thing called Kindle and Amazon where we can just
Oh
order
yeah.
books and have them that day, or listen to these amazing podcasts that are out there and listen to these gurus and just take the nuggets. Take whatever little nuggets that are given to you and try them. And if they don't work, try the next one.
Right, right, right. No, that's an
Yeah.
amazing story. Like because it makes sense, and it's obviously transferable skills from Tupperware to what you're doing now, which is running a business, right? So,
Yeah.
I guess one of the things that I would probably like start to wrap up with, what is like their most effective marketing strategy currently? Is it word of mouth still? Is it something because you did have like a facility, your center, and then you went online. Like there's so many different ways to tackle the two types of businesses. So I'm just curious, what's working for you, and maybe what would you suggest a health coach kind of start with?
Social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do believe social media propels. I work with so many health coaches, naturopaths, chiropractors
Mm.
at this point, and that I think the biggest thing is knowing what they should be posting on social media, what they shouldn't be posting on social media,
Yeah.
and what social media they should be on. Now, it just depends on what your niche is,
Hmm.
of what platform you and who your ideal client is. Believe it or not, Facebook is not for everybody.
Right. Right.
Right? And so a lot of people are like, oh, Facebook or TikTok or, whatever. The gentleman I was just talking to you about, his niche is actually on X. Like that is more X than LinkedIn.
Mm.
And so I think knowing what social media source you should be on and what to post and what not to post. And I think what not to post sometimes is even more important
Mm. Yeah.
because we put it's inevitable that we share our lives on social media these days.
Right. Right.
And I think you just need to sometimes rein back because not everybody needs to know what your religion is. They don't need to know what your political belief is.
Right.
And they don't want to see you bickering or arguing with other people or being too opinionated, but they want to see good content. They want to see, they want to see that you live a healthy life,
Right, right.
you know. So there's a fine line.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this week I'm actually releasing a podcast with a doctor who's actually in New York, and we had this discussion, and I want to just see if you agree with his opinion that he thinks that social media at this point is going to officially like replace Google, right? So to the extent where like when I guess I grew up, we Google things and say, okay, where's the best wellness center in my county? He think this is basically dead now, and it's going to all be social media where people are looking for that information through social specifically, and it's kind of just going to take that group of people and move them into a new way of looking and searching for things.
So what most people don't know is YouTube is actually the number two search engine in the world.
Yes.
And so most people don't realize that. And of course, it is owned by Google, but um, YouTube is actually still social media.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't think of YouTube. They think of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Those are the top three that people will talk about, right?
Hmm.
They think of professionals more being on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
X being a little bit more opinionated, honestly, is what
Hmm.
most people think when you do surveys about it. But YouTube is a key. And let me tell you, if you guys just went out and did nothing else, and you went on YouTube and you just did a little clip of, hey, today I had a client, you don't have to give him the name, you don't have to, and this is the scenario and this is the result,
Hmm.
right? Even if you just did health tips, if you did, um, just fun little things on YouTube and grew that YouTube channel,
Hmm.
it's amazing the business and learn what you need to do to put on your YouTube. So you're doing lead generation, right?
Right,
We
right.
want lead generation. That's why we do socials, is we want that lead generation. I think you'd be amazed of how much can actually happen on YouTube and the business that you could bring in.
Hmm.
Um, but then choose your other socials very carefully. But I would say if you're going to start anywhere, start with YouTube
So
and
I
then pick another social as well.
Okay, so I gotta admit I completely missed in my stalking of you. I missed your YouTube situation. So, hi. So you are doing well on YouTube then.
I am. And
Okay,
there's
'cause I
always,
missed it. I'm
remember, I
sorry.
told you things aren't linear, right? We literally just like took down our YouTube channel. It's going back up July 1st because
Okay.
we're completely revamping it.
Okay.
And so all the new videos are going on there. So it's quite interesting because I have gone from doing a lot of health coaching to more helping practitioners and health coaches. I've swung into that business side of things. So we are literally separating my YouTube channel and we're creating two YouTube channels. So
Got it.
stay tuned because just in a couple weeks, we'll have two separate YouTube channels. One will be for health and wellness, and the other one will be for more business for health and wellness, people who need help with their businesses, sales and marketing.
Well, that's awesome because well, so now you're basically sounding like I am. So I'm gonna get a selfish question in there for that because
Yeah.
it's my show. So I get these are the perks, right? So um, I think even for myself, it's always been a natural for me to think that that's the natural gravitation of someone who's successful as a health coach and a practitioner to eventually become successful in business and want to share that new part of their
Mhm.
lives with others as well. It's just like, when you came out and found about the mold toxicity, I'm sure that was the first thing you wanted to share with the world. Now that you kind of are, it's not that it's old, right? I don't want, when I describe it, I overcame sugar addictions. I had, these weight issues, this, that, the other. And now it's so in my past because it's like so routine. Like the
Mhm.
business stuff like we're talking about right now is the stuff that gets me excited, right?
It
So
fuels you, right?
yeah, yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
I like to learn and then I like to just share. That's the kind of what
Yeah.
I've always done. How do you feel? about that, and I already know your answer, but I'd love to hear you articulate it. But the only reason I'm asking is because everyone in the market space is always saying niche down, niches and riches are in the niches, this, that, the other. But you clearly are going too fast, and I have the same situation. This is definitely my new show. Well, it's not a new show. This is one path. I have a weight loss show that we've, and that's kind of that's my market when I do health coaching. So talk to me about that briefly, and I just want to kind of see your perspective on that.
Sure. I have a twist on mine a little bit.
Okay.
And 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 here is why. I first of all, I think that after you've coached for so long, my coaching started back in the Tupperware days from almost day one, right?
Hmm.
When I was coaching a hostess to have $1,000 party because that's what I thought she had to have,
Right, right.
versus coaching somebody with their health, really going down that autoimmune, like you've gone down the weight loss thing, route. For
Mm,
me, it was people with autoimmune symptoms of getting those managed, because that's what happened with me after I was better with the mold stuff. It really brought out some of my autoimmune issues, and
mm,
so then we had to tackle those. And so that's kind of where I went with that. I think as long as you do this, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I'm into this, over 20 years at this point.
mm,
It is the natural progression that we want to take all that knowledge that we've had over the last few years of helping other people, and now we want to help people. You're still
right, right.
helping people. So it's a natural progression, I think, of do I step into this lane?
Hmm.
And I think the answer is yes. You're so needed in that realm because there's so many new health coaches that are like coming up after us, right?
Right, right, right,
And
right.
so it's almost like the football player becoming the football coach,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
That's
It's
a good one.
it's really what it is. And so you have all this knowledge, and here's the best part is we get to see the ripple effect. So
Yes.
the last few years, I've been working with doctors, chiropractors, health coaches, anybody in the wellness business build their own businesses.
Hmm.
And I think for me, it's so exciting, and you're going to see this as well, is now I get to help people make their businesses bigger, better, bolder, whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
And I get to know that not only now I'm not helping 20 people a month. Now I get to see hundreds of people helped a month
Right.
because these coaches are now duplicating, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
duplicating. So it's the ripple effect.
yeah,
And so it's pretty exciting because in a way, now you're not just helping this amount of people. Now you're helping this many people.
yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, I love that you explained it that way. That's what I thought you were going to be going with it. And I'm glad that you did because it kind of helps me reinforce what I'm trying to do in this world, right? So,
Yeah. So, and with my health channel, so my health channels help you get healthy, which was the name of my business.
mhm.
And so that is the YouTube channel where it's going to be more health tips and whatever. But I've twisted it around where if people are in my inner circle and they're in my coaching program, I'm allowing, so that's why we're gathering all these new videos. I'm allowing my practitioners to be able to go onto my YouTube channel, which
Nice.
will be really exciting to get them out into the world so they can start, getting more exposure.
Yeah,
And
that's
of
awesome.
course, the business side will be me more with the business. And so it was really kind of gut wrenching to think about taking my YouTube channel down because it was very successful, but it's just temporary. It's just
Yeah.
temporary. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what, the summer's going to hold, having them split.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be on
Yeah.
the lookout and definitely taking notes as that grows as well. So, listen, Nicole, you've been fantastic today. I'm so happy that you were able to jump on. I know we had the off the air conversation that we had to reschedule this, and I appreciate you doing that. So, I wanted you to just get an opportunity to tell us where to find all this wonderful stuff that you're doing, your social media handles, your website, the YouTube stuff. I'm sure that's all, it's all on your website. So yeah, if you could provide that with us so we can keep up with all the good stuff we're doing, we would greatly appreciate it.
So you can find me on feelinggroovyconsulting.com. That is my website, because I am Feeling Groovy. That was Feeling Groovy Wellness was my business, was my wellness center. And so I decided to keep going with the Feeling Groovy vibe because that's just who I am.
Mhm.
So feelinggroovyconsulting.com. And then Help You Get Healthy will be the YouTube channel with all the health tips on it. So both of those will be on YouTube starting in July. But you can find me on social media under Feeling Groovy Consulting. And Help You Get Healthy is still on there as well. So you have two ways to find me. If you're starting out in business, if you're seasoned in business, if you want somebody to have a kind of a bird's eye look at things, I do a free audit, a business audit. So you can go to feelinggroovyconsulting.com/audit. And I'm happy to fill out the little questions. I think there's like 5 or 6 questions on there. And I'm happy to hop on a call and take a look at your socials and see where you need to be.
Awesome. That's an awesome resource. Yeah, I hope that the health coaches who are listening take you up on that because I think that would be really helpful. So again, Nicole, thanks so much for being on the show. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Omar. It has been a pleasure, and I can't wait to listen to even more of your podcasts because the couple I've listened to have been fantastic,
Oh,
and
thank
I
you.
just
Thank
think
you.
you're a tremendous host. So thank you so much.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. And yeah, we'll definitely be keeping in contact. Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.